So now we're going to hop in the air and zip our way around. Now I know that there's a feeder quest in Ratchet to go in here. I'm not entirely certain whether the feeder quest is the same. The feeder quest didn't actually take you to the instance. The feeder quest took you into a guy nursing a bottle of rum. Is the upper cave still available? Oh look, the upper cave still exists. Well, the question is anybody in the upper cave? No. This upper cave here, which is actually above the Wailing Caverns and is not part of the instance, used to have to be accessed in order to get special quests. I can't remember if they were class-specific quests or not, but you had to come up here in order to get them, and of course had to come up here to redeem them. I'm just going to quickly take a quick view of the instance entrance away. As you can see, it's meant to be like a skull. Okay, a skull wearing a jaunty beret? Apparently the Wailing Caverns is a French instance, and that might explain a lot. These are meant to be fangs out front, I guess, and I don't even know where to begin with the scrapings in the ground, but anyway, so this is the actual entrance to the Wailing Caverns instance. Like the Dead Mines, you have to go through a little bit of a cave in order to get there. Therefore, this is going to be where I'm going to start this particular instance's video. Hence the reason why I'm standing still for a moment. I probably should shut up as well, that might help. Alright, good enough. That'll be good enough for a cut. In we go. Wailing Caverns. Yeah. Ah, looks like someone's already been here. Well, I'm never one to turn down free skins. Now, as you can see, the entrance is a little bit complicated, kind of like the other one is, right? There's mining to be done, there's questing, or at least there used to be questing to be done in this area. What you would do to get that bottle of rum is you would go this way. Fight some raptors, no big. I think the guy was over the edge of a... yeah, he was down here. In fact, there's his little hovel. He's no longer here, though. And I don't know if his bottle of rum is still here. I wouldn't be able to tell you because I can't see it because I'm not on the quest, if the quest still exists. But if the quest did still exist, the bottle of rum would be somewhere in this area. But he's supposed to be in here too. You're supposed to actually have to take it from him. And you have to go back this way. And then back up this ramp. To get back to the exit. Which is right there. Okay? So that's what you used to have to do to get that part done. It also just happens that this is the fast way into the instance as well. Well, fast is kind of a random term in this case. You still have to go the entire length of this part of the cave, killing everything as you go, and as you can see, this part of the cave is still completely filled with bad guys. There was quest to kill these dudes though. And then you'd get to here, and at the bottom of this drop in the water, there used to be something down here that lurked down here. Doesn't seem to be here anymore, but the whole idea was to stay on top of the water and get across and not go down. Now, of course, coming in here, the Cavern of Mists, coming in here, you're obviously heading towards the instance entrance. So you'd be in a group if you came into this cave at all. But that didn't stop the cave from being a little tricky. This part being the trickiest. There should be a character or mob right below me. I don't think it's there right now. But it used to be that if you were coming into the area and accidentally fell off here, you'd land on top of a mob. Not a rare or an elite. I don't think any of them are rare or elite at this point. But you would have to deal with a mob that was there. And that could be just enough aggro to get you killed back in the day. Now the mob's gone, so if you fall off there, you just chalk it up to being an idiot. And all is well. And here's the entrance to the instance. So let's get in and see just how wonderful the Wailing Caverns is. Yeah. Okay, so here we're going to look at the map. Now, the map of the Wailing Caverns belies the truth. The Wailing Caverns is actually a much easier instance than it ever used to be. Mainly because what used to be a big mass of spaghetti in this part got cleared up a lot. Okay? Plus they moved where scum is. This area down here used to be 3 times the size, with like 3 or 4 different levels, and scum was hidden in the back area, like in this area kinda, but it wasn't on this level, and he was he was in a gated, kind of like a compound that you had to fight your way to. You had to fight a boss to get the key, and then you had to unlock the gate in order to kill him. No, I'm not kidding. The Wailing Caverns has been nerfed heavily.
Oh, yeah.
Heavily. Okay? Now's a good time to discuss how they've done the nerfing. They've done the nerfing very specifically. First of all, when you used to come into an instance when you're in vanilla, this dungeon crap never came up. None of this objective crap came up. None of it. So you couldn't just pull up the map and say, okay, who do I have to kill? You'd be able to pull up the map and see the map, but these guys weren't put on the map. They weren't there, so you'd know where to go. Okay, you'd have these big blue circles, and that was it. So they've obviously changed that. Additionally, and very importantly, you didn't complete the instance by getting all the bosses done. You completed the instance by going around and doing everything you could in the instance. Okay? Why am I saying that? What that sounds so obviously obtuse. Why would you have to say something so completely obvious? Well, it's really simple. Back when this particular instance was of use, back when it was the bigger pain in the ass than it is now, and don't get me wrong, it's still a big pain in the ass. The last part of the instance wasn't known to very many people. I had come in this instance 5 or 6 times before I even knew there was a last part of the instance. Because in order to get the very end of the instance, you had to purposefully do something that wasn't advertised. You had to talk to a guy just inside the entrance to set off the final chain of events. Now, when I get around to the end of the instance, you will see me do exactly that. But the quest deliberately makes me do that, and that's the difference. Because that never used to be the case. You would go through the entire instance, you'd get to the end of it, and then if you didn't know what was expected of you, you'd leave. But in actuality, what you're supposed to do is talk to the guy at the end of the instance. After you turn in your whatever quests were there was another guy, and then you had to talk to him and start the ritual. And that is what began the escort mission that takes you to the back room that most people missed because they would go in there and there'd be nothing there, so they'd completely ignore it, and they didn't realize they had to do anything about it at the end of the instance. Like, seriously, this was completely a shock to people. Now it's the game deliberately, on purpose, tells you go there. And this is another little bit of hand-holding that Blizzard does. It's just how it is. Blizzard is making sure that nobody misses anything. So that's fine and all, but that kind of eliminates the process of discovery that characters like myself really enjoy RPGs for. Who doesn't remember playing Final Fantasy and trying to get every single one of the big casting spells? Depending on, I'm not naming them because depending on which version of Final Fantasy you've played, they'd be named differently. But everybody knows what I'm talking about. You know, it was good to get fire and ice and water as your spells, but you wanted Fire Aga and Gigaga, the big earthquake spell. And you had to get the right creature that could cast that shit. And so you'd have to find where that creature was found, and then you'd have to go and get that creature to drop for you. And you know, you had to do a bunch of things or to get things like that done. Well, that's the same thing that Warcraft used to be. Warcraft used to be a lot more similar to games like Final Fantasy, in the sense that in order to get everything done properly, you had to look around, use a little bit of ingenuity, and search out some stuff. You weren't able to just waltz in and be told you have to kill Lady Anacondra, Lord Pythos, Lord Cobran, Lord Serpentis in order to complete the dungeon. And that would complete the dungeon. No, but you had a quest. You had a quest that had you having to go and kill those four, and it was up to you to look for them and find them in the dungeon on your own. You had to actually put some effort into this, folks. Now they've nerfed it. And again, it might be because Wailing Caverns is an instance that's low level enough that people who aren't playing the game fully yet might have an opportunity to come into. Any idea what level Wailing Caverns is, Wayne? Off the top of your head? Or off what you read?
Wailing Caverns, advice levels 15 to 25.
So it's on the same level as Deadmine. So yeah, that's probably why they've nerfed it like this. To make it palatable to those who aren't necessarily going to be playing beyond the first 20 levels, or to make sure that their hands are held as much as possible. And that would make sense, and that would explain it, but it doesn't explain it fully. And the reason it doesn't explain it fully is the fact that way after the first few levels, this kind of hand-holding is still going on. Now, for that example, I give you Solomance. Solomance is a lot lower than it used to be. It used to be a level 60 instance, which means it was at the top end of vanilla. And doing Solomance was a big deal. You had to earn the right to open the door by completing a buttload of quests in the Western Plaguelands. And it was hard. Involved a lot of plague stuff at each and every farm going across the entire zone. Was a lot of fun, but it was challenging. And when you finally got the key to get into Solomance, you felt like you had really achieved something.
Yep.
Now I'm calling it Solomance. It could be Scholomance, depending on, scholarly. So Scholomance or Scholomance. Depends on how you like to pronounce it. I pronounce it Solomance. I kind of roll the SCH aspect of it. So, sue me. Now, here's an interesting piece of information. Kresh's back used to be the first... Oh, it doesn't look like it's on that page. There it is. Used to be the first really worthwhile shield in the game. And Kresh didn't always drop it. So that was the reason why people used to come through this instance a lot. Because there were some things you could get that weren't there every time. And that was one of the first real good items. Is that bag openable by any chance? No, it's not. It's just a bag. So yeah, Kresh's back was the first really good shield that a warrior would get. Now this climb here, up to the top of this section of the dungeon, hasn't really changed over the years. To my memory, anyway. Still feels about the same as it did. It's a little convoluted. If you can lose your way a little bit if you're not paying attention completely. They have cleaned it up a little though. There was a part of it at which, if you didn't know which way you were going, you get to completely turn around and going back down, thinking you're still going up, which was really weird. It was like Magnetic Hill in Moncton, New Brunswick. you'd think you were going up still, but in actuality you were going downwards. That was always interesting. Sorry folks, I'm just going to lean back again in the chair. I got to take care of my spine. My broken tailbone still gives me troubles. Anyway. Yes, so let's
And
go.
I finally got a recliner, so yeah.
Yes, I finally do have a recliner. For anybody who out there who's been worried about whether I've got one, the answer is yes, I do have a recliner. So, you know, hopefully that's going to help me in the long run. And you see, this is the area, this is kind of the area I'm talking about. See how you're going down now, but you are going forward, but you could easily accidentally go on the other path and be going down the wrong way. Actually, I am going down the wrong way. Look at that, I actually did exactly what I was talking about. The right way keeps you up here first, and then curves around, and then starts doing its own little thing. Ha! See, I even screwed myself up while trying to discuss the actual instance I'm in. Anybody who's really interested as to why I'm doing all the skinning here, it's because light leathers can be made into medium leathers, and medium leathers can be made into heavy leathers, and heavy leathers can be made into thick leathers. And I'm currently at the point where I need to level up my leather working. It's pathetic how low my leather working is. I need to get it up to Draenor levels, and so as a result, I kind of need a lot of leather. So I'm just, you know, I figure I might as well make stuff that's, you know, might be interesting or helpful for me. At least I can get some experience as to where those items are found. Stuff like that. Good timing on the respawn. Look at that. Take out all these mothers. Nothing from him. No skins from him. This guy might have a skin for me though. He's a viper. There we go. Everybody here is dead. Come over here and do the skinning. Alright, so now we're heading back down. But in actuality, we're still kind of heading up. Yeah, I know, it's kind of weird. Lots of skinning to be done here now. There we go. Alrighty. The reason we're here. There he goes. Took a little bit of life out of him, didn't I? Here we go. And thump. That's number 3. So I've actually taken care of 3 of the 4 already. Not too shabby, huh folks? Now to get out of here and get back on the path, you just have to drop down here. They even give you little ledges. Right? In case you're like really obtuse and can't drop all the way. Because you just don't feel safe about it. You can drop on these little ledges and get to the bottom with hardly any damage taken whatsoever. Okay, so we've taken care of what I consider the easy half. And the reason I've done it this way is because most people doing this instance go that route first. They consider Verdun the Ever-Living to be a harder boss. So they've chosen to go the other route second in order to make him the final boss, technically, of the majority of the instance. Okay. Now you're probably wondering why I'm doing a complete clear on this one. 2 reasons. Number 1, everything's on the route. And the other reason is, yeah, leathers. That's the only reason. Yes. Oh, he's adorable. Kitty cat's doing adorable things. This is why there are pictures of them all over my Facebook. Okay, so we're almost on the bottom part here. Now, as I said before, this area used to be very, very convoluted. Now it's so straightforward it's annoying. Which is not to say this part of the cave that I'm in right now, this very part of the cave didn't exist. It existed, just not in this particular form. It existed in a little bit of a different form. This was the entrance into the entire maze. Now they've reduced it to a one-way only type of situation, which makes it admittedly very easy to get through, but also admittedly is very pussy. This area used to open up into a huge section. Multiple levels, and you had to know which way to go if you wanted to go straight to the final boss, too. You couldn't just go in and follow the one path. No, no. This thing broke into multiple paths, one of which was very overgrowth filled, I guess, and it was right through the middle here. And that's where you would go in order to get yourself closer to the final boss dude. Now, of course, it is so much easier, it's stupid. What's that sound effect? I'm already going up a hill, and this wasn't even where the hill was. Okay? So I'll make that clear, is that this is not even where the hill was. No, this used to be a huge area filled with different areas, I'm not going to use the word area all the time. It used to be a huge area filled with different paths and routes you could take, and it was hard to tell whether you were on the right path until you started really going up. And the place where you knew for sure that you were going the right way was what was called the jump. The jump still exists in this version of the instance. However, it's been so ridiculously nerfed it's hardly even worth mentioning nowadays. But the jump did exist in every version of the instance. Yeah, he'll give me the so we'll take it. There we go. The jump told you were going the right way because you had to use the jump to get to the second part of the climb. Okay. So the part I'm in now is part of the original climb. This is the part that arcs around to the jump. Now this is not to say that there weren't areas below this. This whole black area here used to be all the spaghetti. It was such a spaghetti-filled instance, and like I say, you had to know exactly where to go to get to the start of it in order to get to here. Now this is the jump. Doesn't look like much because it isn't. The jump used to be from here to over here. Okay? They've brought in the ledge and pulled out the ledge up here to make it so much easier. You could almost walk off. In fact, I think you can now walk off this side and land on this side. But I'm sure you can understand the ramifications. If you miss that jump, you're all the way back down. That's where Scum is down there in that cave, which is no longer that cave. That was the entrance cave where everything branched out. So if you fall down, not only have you fallen down, now you have to find your way again. And if you were one of these poor, unlucky schmucks who was just following everybody else in the cave, hoping that somebody knew the right way, now you have to figure out the right way on your own without any help. Good luck, have fun, see you next year. Because by the time you got around to helping everybody else out again by getting back up to where everybody else was, they're already pretty much done the instance and you just missed a whole bunch of kills. However, I've got to be fair. Back in the day, I was in whole groups that fell down that jump. Nothing quite like seeing a group of 5 people who are kicking the ass out of everything in an instance all of a sudden become complete morons because they can't jump from a ledge to another ledge. And it happened more often than you think, and it happened to me more often than I care to admit, So as far as I'm concerned, it never ever happened to me, and we're just going to move on, and we're just going to kill the final boss according to the instance. Now see, that said stage complete, right? In other words, I've completed stage 1 of whatever this instance is asking of me. Now, back in the day, that was the end of the quest, and the quest got turned in back at the entrance, and the only other thing you had left to do was kill this boss, which was the final boss. Boom, final boss dead. Okay? And now you've effectively completed the entirety of this instance. All you had to do was know the secret. There's a secret way to get back, and that's by doing a leap of faith into a bit of water, back down to the bottom, and you swim out, and you're right back near the instance entrance. That little sneaky in and out move has always been in the game. And going back up here to turn in the quests, of course, because it's quest redeemers, this has also always been part of the game. The next deviation is coming up as I turn in these quests. See, it even tells you what you have to do. Muyo escorted. Really? Really? Let's turn in our hides. Here, have the hides. Give me some silver. Here, have the serpent bloom. Give me some silver. See, so far so good. Hey, I get a reward. Yay, let's find out what's going to sell for the most silver. You have to beat 13, 38. Oh, no, that was the winner. Let's take it. Okay, all the quests are turned in. So I'm done the instance, right? Ah, but it says part 2, the Disciples of Narlax, on the side there, with Muyo escorted and Mutanus, the Devoured field. Well, who the frick is Mutanus? No, Mutanus. Read it properly, silly goose. So yeah, the thing is that now it tells you this stuff, and like I said, this stuff never used to be here. So, in actuality, it tells you to come back and talk to this guy. But right now, the way it looks, if I was to, get rid of this is, except for the word objectives, this is how it would be at the end of the instance. You've effectively killed off the Wailing Caverns. You're done. There weren't bonus objectives. There weren't extra bonus money or experience points if you complete the entire instance and kill all the bosses. The bosses dying and giving you a drop, that was the bonus. That was the carrot that was on the stick. Not this extra bonus crap. Look at this. I complete this instance, I'm going to get 33 extra silver. That's the new carrot on the stick, and that's what Cataclysm added to the game. So, you'd have to know that you had to talk to this guy. You had to know to ask him to let the event begin. And that's when you get led to the cave back here, which did not have a boss symbol on it, because there was no boss symbols in the game back in the day. You'd be like, oh, this guy's letting me walk around, he's actually doing something. I didn't know this was part of the instance. I'm paraphrasing what I said the very first time I discovered this. Oh wow, so the instance isn't over yet? Oh cool, there's something else. Wow, am I glad I talked to that random guy who just happened to be staying there, who I had no reason to talk to in the first place. Boy, am I lucky I looked into that, because boy, I would feel dumb if I had missed the end of the run. I did not know that part of the run was there. Okay, now I'm paraphrasing like a bored little kid, but still, the point is the same. No idea. A lot of players had no idea. There was also a quest to go around and get the eggs from the rafters. That quest is seemingly gone now too. But that quest did exist back in the day. And obviously is no longer. Oh, you can see the third guy. Thanks, God. Yeah, that quest is obviously gone too. I'd mentioned that as well. Blizzard just can't leave a good thing alone. Like the Wailing Caverns suck, and I really shouldn't complain about the fact that they took the spaghetti part out of it. At the same token, people like myself, Man, we ran that spaghetti, man. We did that. We worked on this. We actually learned the path. Why? Because you didn't learn the path, you couldn't complete the instance properly. So it now requires a lot less knowledge to play the game. It requires less memorization to play the game. Now it requires just, blowing through and not talking to other people, and nobody has to explain boss mechanics until you get to Pandaria because it's not important. And even when you get to Pandaria, the only boss mechanics that really have to be explained are for raid bosses. I remember back in the day when doing the Shadow Labs in Burning Crusade meant sitting around with your guild mates, or your party mates at the very least, and discussing the best method in which to kill everything. How best to do these things. Where best to pull the mobs to. Nowadays, people don't know to pull around a corner because there's no need to have tanks pull creatures around corners anymore. It's not a game mechanic that pops up very often because they nerfed how much damage it takes to kill things. Yep. DPS. You want to know how? You really want to know how easy the instances are? Play as a DPS character. Okay. And here's what you're going to learn. And you're not going to take ages to learn it. You're going to learn it pretty goddamn fast. Okay. You ready? Here's what you need to know as DPS. Number one, you have to use the fastest spell you can. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you expect there to be more on the list? No, I'm telling you that in order to play a DPS character in the current game, the only thing you need to know is how to use the most powerful, fastest spell you can. Whatever has the quickest count. Whatever has the least cooldown.
I am
Why?
at last.
You're going to love this. Because if you don't actually have yourself using the fastest spell, you will end up being the third DPS in the instance. You will often be the last person picking up loot, and you will be the last person getting to the next fight because the tank can aggro as many as 3 groups of mobs. Not 3 mobs, 3 groups of mobs at once. And the DPS AoE damage will be able to burn them down so fast that if you're not whipping out your fastest spell, you will literally not attack anything for the entire length of the instance. If you do not believe me, try it sometime. Go in as a mage and deliberately cast the spell that takes the longest to cast. And don't cast any other spell other than that spell for the length of the instance. And I will guarantee you that aside from the bosses, you will not actually do damage to any mob in the entire run. Why? Because they'll already be dead. Which means that basically every instance in the game, up to and including Pandarian instances, can be run with a healer, a tank, and 2 DPS. Some of them can be a healer, a tank, and only 1 DPS. Simply because it all depends. Like if you're using a monk, forget about it. You don't need secondary DPS. I proved that at level in Nomergan just this week. Alright? This is going to sound awfully weird, but this is what happened. In Nomergan, if anybody knows it, it's a multi-level dungeon. And at the very beginning of the instance, you can drop down and save yourself some time getting to one of the bosses that are required. And once you kill him, he's a gigantic ooze. And once you kill him, you can then go the right path, and you get to another boss that's in a platform in the center of a room from which you can also drop down. Okay? And at that point, the path splits into 2 paths. You can take Route 1 or Route 2. Route 1 takes you directly to the final boss area. Route 2 takes you through another boss that is optional, and then ultimately from there you can get to the final boss area. Okay. So what happened is I was in an instance with a monk on a different server. a PvP realm, because I'd never played a character up to 100 on the PvP realm, so I'm using a monk on this other realm. So, we went into the instance, got to the secondary boss, killed that boss, dropped off his platform, and then half of the group, I'll wait till I tell you who was in the group, half of the group went the wrong way. They went towards the optional boss that did not have to be completed to complete the instance. Well, if anybody knows Nomergan, it's a pain in the ass instance, hated universally, because it's such a long, drawn-out slog if you're doing all the bosses. Wife, can you please look up instance number 4, please? So anyway, so we're in this instance, we drop down, and myself and one other character in the instance went the way towards the final boss. Now, you ready for this? You're going to love this. It was me and the tank. The tank was a druid, and as everybody knows, even a tanking druid has restorative abilities. So the tank and I went the right way and completed the rest of the instance, just the two of us. I am not kidding. It was me and the tank. That was it. Just me and the tank. And we went out and we killed every group of mobs on the way to and the final boss. The final boss, the hardest creature in the entire instance, arguably, should be the final boss. The two of us killed the final boss and left the dungeon before the healer